Hey guys, it's the Modern Mama here, and welcome back to part 2 of last week's great episode where we were with our special guest, Sergine, and she was asking us a bunch of dope-ass questions and very real responses were given. We uncover what it means to be a mom, what it may look like for each woman, and the different possibilities of how you can get your vagina cut. Isn't that so much fun? Well, let's get right back into the episode. Part 2 on why they cut your pussy.
Because I'm really into researching the future and where technology is going, and I also participate in a lot of market research out here in LA. So I'm always up to the new gadgets and stuff. And one that crossed with pregnancy, I actually made her watch a video before this because I really wanted to talk about it. And it's what do they call it? Now it is called an artificial womb, where in America mostly they're hoping to eliminate the female body when it comes to pregnancy and basically cook embryos in a machine where you can view it right in your living room. And so and they would be called designer babies. And so I had made Melissa watch the video, and I wanted to know her opinion about it. So yeah, very sorry.
Oh, God. And the crazy thing is that we technically already have designer babies.
Yeah, you can pick out the sex.
Yeah, you can pick out the sex. You can pick out their hair color, their eye color. There's even some, I guess, rumors or myths that you can maybe enhance some things, or if your baby was had a genetic mutation that you can have it removed.
Oh yeah, with the new machines.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of very weird things happening. I mean, if y'all haven't been able to notice already, I'm team leave shit the way it is.
Right. What the heck? And I guess I don't know, because this topic is so big. Lately we've already been seeing in the news. It's already a war on women.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna kind of bring up the Roe versus Wade situation. It's they don't want people having abortions, but they want to create these babies in machines.
And it's just it makes sense though. For this country or others to want to do that, because the point of a lot of these corporations is for people to just work. And a lot of us, when I say us, I mean moms, a lot of us, we got pregnant and said, fuck work. Because my baby is more important. Having this family is more important. And so a lot of women are saying, I'd rather just stay at home. And that's a problem. Especially just in general, I mean, they just want more people working. And so what's a better way, and who's a better market to try to target than that very inspiring working woman? You can still do the things that you want. You don't have to change your body. Look at all the things that you don't have to experience, and you still get your baby. How cool does that sound? I don't have to gain weight. I don't have to deal with any of the complications or feelings of pregnancy, but I still get the reward. And that to me is, I don't know.
It's interesting, right? Because all the wonderful things that you told me about your pregnancy, all of that would be erased,
It would just cease to exist. And I think that's the beautiful part about being pregnant. This moment you feel that little baby move, it's it becomes real. It's whoa, you're really in here now, and it's such is no one gonna talk about this is already a country and a world of unstabilized people. Are we really going to give people the ability to see their baby in front of them when a lot of people are forgetting to feed their dogs? People are willingly killing the kids that they have already because they looked at them. You mean to tell me that someone out here is not going to just go into an angry rage and just kill a bunch of these pod babies? Like, and if, and then we have to talk about, is it abortion if I unplug the pod baby? Like, what if my power goes out? Like, what happens then? Does the pod baby have generation?
Think of that. Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, like, can I have twins in this pod baby? Will they technically be twins?
Oh, man.
Like, what happens to siblings now?
If a disaster happens, the baby's done for.
Right, and then it just, like we said before, man, leave the shit how it is. I'm not sure of how many more movies I can take of them literally telling you what will happen if you start fucking with genetics.
And you don't know what you're growing in there. Like, all the hormones, I'm assuming a lot of hormones will be missing. All the connection is gone. Like, you don't know what that thing is.
It's not right, because then you have to start thinking what makes a human a human. And if you think that having a soul makes you human, does this mean that this is a soulless entity?
Right, you can design it.
Right, like, does it have a spirit? Like, can it feel things? Is this now a robot? Like, how does it have these connections, and Right,
and if you can design babies, that means, the crazy families, families are going to look a lot different now.
Okay, and not even just that. I didn't even think about that. For people who fetishize over certain ethnicities or skin colors, will there be people just breeding out brown babies because they want to, and then they want... What if they produce slavery again? But it's like, well, these babies, I made them. Like, what happens now? Like,
I know, right?
It starts off so innocent. Like, it starts off like, well, the people who can't have babies, and maybe this is too controversial for me to say on my podcast. My podcast's still new. I don't want to get canceled already or anything.
You're so right. Like, if you can just purchase one of these pods and purchase an egg and make your own little thing, what about serial killers who are just going to stuff them in their basement? And, oh, my God.
There's just so many, and it's just like...
You can create your own army.
Okay, and they're already looking for people like that.
Right. Oh, man.
Stranger Things gave us way too many ideas already. And so it just, I think at the end, it like we said, it starts off really good. It's like, okay, there's really people who can't have kids and then, hold on, I even thought about another thing. Okay. We was fiending to try to tell people to stop having kids because there's too many people in the world. Mm-hmm. How do we control population if that happens?
Yo, you're so right.
Like, what do we do then? We just end up with too much people, and then what?
And then you know how many undocumented people?
Okay.
Right? How would you know?
And would these people just be citizens in whatever country that they happen to just pop out in? Like, do we have global citizenship now? Because I'm a pod person. I'm a pod human, so I don't belong to one thing. Like, what happens for real? Like, what is happening?
Wait until they make the pods portable.
Oh, okay. Like, no, really. Now you just sparked another thing. What if I want to go on vacation? Do I just leave my pod there charging and it feeds itself?
No, you're right.
Like, what? Like, can I leave? Because they're talking about, you don't have to, you could just move around and do anything you want.
Yeah.
For how long?
They're going to create, like, some weird automatic self-feeder, but, like...
Right, like,
what if the dog just eats it?
Right, no, really. What if an animal comes and eats my baby? Like, what do I do? Like, do I go to jail for negligence? This is child abuse.
Oh, my God. Burglary?
When they rob your baby?
No way. Yeah, you're right. Oh my God. So horrible. So terrible.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's bad. It's just a no for me.
Especially with people like Elon Musk and trying to make people live on Mars. What are you going to do? Just
ship
this
them to Mars?
to Mars?
Okay, and then imagine now they have they have more of a reason to want to ship like these babies or whatever, the podlings, off to like Pluto or something because, you know, like what if you can do something where they can last longer in space? So now you're not sending like your astronauts, you're just sending a pod. Like we don't really, at the end of all of this, I think that there's too many crazy people in this world for us to leave them with that many options.
Yo, with all these tragedies that we just mentioned too, which are like blowing my mind right now, we didn't even think about the most craziest one. The one that would relate to us the most. Like, how do you think they would treat women after that?
This is gonna be beyond Handmaid's Tale.
Because we would be equal. Because men would start saying that they're equal to us.
Because I had a baby. I made my own baby.
Right.
I did it.
I don't need you.
Oh man, I'll shoot him. Sorry. But I would have to.
It's getting crazy, yeah.
That is.
And then what if the normal pregnancy, actually going through it becomes like such a weird phenomenon now? Like in the future.
Like it's like, oh, you right. Wow. Like people look at you like, wow, you actually did that to yourself. Like, damn. No.
Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's what they said about plastic surgery. Now look.
Wow.
Yo, that's
It
really crazy.
really is. And that's what's scary.
It is.
Because this is, mind you guys, this is just their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
It's definitely somewhere we just have.
Oh no, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, this is the idea that they showed us. That means they already did it.
Well, remember they did it with the goat?
Yes, they did that with. But there was a report in China that they actually did it with a human, but they didn't tell them. And you know, they said that they did. You know the mother. Sorry, y'all, but come on. Even in Stranger Things, shit was popping off over there. People are always doing stuff.
And then remember, I also follow like a lot of like the artificial intelligence stuff. I just know they're gonna create a robot baby. I just know it.
Oh, of course.
Oh my goodness.
It's just, and then it makes me think about like pedophiles. We already have a large sex trafficking problem. Imagine now that we can just create robot kids for just these people to have and enjoy. I don't know.
And then people threatening you to do it, like you'll create a baby right now.
Right. Ugh.
Oh my God.
And one thing we haven't even talked about. People still getting their social security taken off the damn internet. What if somebody take my baby's DNA and like make my baby and I don't know? Now I have my baby somewhere and they're doing something that I didn't authorize or whatever.
Girl, they're gonna start. Yeah.
Like what happens?
For their eggs and sperm. Oh my God.
Like it's just yeah.
For your eggs and sperm. No.
It's a no for me. Sorry. I'm going to have to vote no on that one.
No, me too. Honestly, I was optimistic about it for a second.
It sounded good.
People who cannot have kids, because I can imagine how that would be. Mm-hmm. A couple who wants to have children, but this is just too much.
It definitely is a little bit much. And it's unfortunate because I know that the true essence of the reason why they thought about it is to help people who can't have kids, you know? But then someone somewhere out there will try to screw it and make it into their own agenda. And then that's when it becomes unethical or how are we really playing God here? Like this is what we really deciding to do? Because the second you decide to play God, there's no turning back. Your consequences are your consequences.
Have it, though, as a scientist for them, they can't help it.
Yeah. To go further. I need to see what happens after this. That urge, that caucasity to want to just push the limit. It's the reason why we are here today. And then let me just say this before if you have another question. We are talking about having pod kids and all this stuff. Yet we are told that the world is supposed to be destroyed and ending and uninhabitable in the next 15 years.
Really?
Are we really having space for all these other inventions when we're not even taking care of the very
honestly,
essence of our being?
Pollution and everything.
Like, is that not adding into the pollution? These pod babies?
Oh my God, definitely.
Like, there's a lot happening here and I don't like it.
They're already working. Along with that, they're also working with the, extending your life up to it's 300, I think, you're probably going for. It's ridiculous.
Oh gosh. No facts. It's just like, oh. Yeah.
One thing I have number 12 here. I wanted to know three things you learned after becoming a mom that may have surprised you, or maybe something that you would now feel like you can relate to with your mom after having Jenny.
I finally understand what it means to never eat your own food again. And I mean, I'm the oldest sibling for my mom's kids, for my mom. Why did I just say my siblings like that? But so I've never really had my own food to begin with, because I'm always share with your brother, share with your sister, share. Cool. But damn, I never understood when you see your mom or your dad eating and you're like, oh, can I have some? And they just willingly share. It's just like, yeah, here, have the whole thing. Just take it. Yo, fuck y'all. Like, what? I'm gonna share my food with you? Bro, you're bugging. I would dead. No, don't ask me to share nothing with you. So that's one thing that I've realized. I can't open a breath mint without Jenny looking at me like, what is that? She's like a little meerkat. So, I mean, you're never having your own food again. This is terrible. That just because you're breastfeeding does not mean your period will not come back for a year or more. I thought that was true. I heard that one time from someone and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get my period for a year. I got my period after 3 months. Yeah. Or that, I didn't believe this, but I know a lot of people who do or did that breastfeeding is like a birth control so you won't get pregnant. Lies. I know a lot of people that got pregnant right after that 6-week appointment. Okay, so don't believe that neither. And the last thing is, this is also a two-parter, is how much back pain that I have now, and but with that, how much easier having my menstrual cycle has become. So the back pain is pretty regular. I mean, labor is a triathlon on your body in maybe a day or two. Because I started labor Thursday, at 7, and I didn't have Jenny until Friday at 10. So I don't know how many hours of labor that is, but that's a long time. And so, what is that, 16 hours, I think? But so that was a lot of back pain. I was dealing with a lot of back pain. So I still feel that. If my back was to hurt, the places that hurt the most when I was in labor, that's what acts up the easiest. Or my neck. Yeah, lower back, mid back. Yeah. So you'll just kind of feel it there. So that's annoying. That and my period used to be really, really bad. I mean, really, really, like, oh my gosh, I used to think I had endometriosis, which I don't, but like, God. Yeah, so now I don't have cramps anymore. So I guess that's like my little prize, you know? Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, so that's one thing I can say. Like, my period comes and it's just like, oh, you're here. And then it's over, and I'm like, oh, cool. So that process is a lot. Yeah, you know? It's like, oh. So I would say that, to be honest, I was really excited to, like, not have to care about my period. And not be on the floor crying with a heating pad all day.
Right.
So, you know, I guess with all the other stuff that happened, no cramps is a great prize to win. Yeah.
Oh my God. This is random. I just thought of it. It's like maybe a little gross, but
no such thing as gross.
You mentioned the babies are doing so much in our bodies, they're peeing and pooping. It stays in the sack though, right? It comes out with the sack.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, Jenny actually had her first poop while she was still inside. And so I actually, my water didn't break on its own, which only 10% of women have their water break on their own. So I used to think I was just going to be walking around and then poof. No. I actually broke my own water, which was the coolest shit ever. Like, I felt it pop and, like, the water coming out. So freaking cool. And that's when they saw that she had passed her first poop. Technically, what would have been her first poop. Like, outside. But, and so once that happened, which I love, this is why who your birth team is matters a lot. I didn't know that happened until I saw the video that night. And I mean, nobody changed. Like, I wouldn't have known anything, because that could be a really serious problem, because I'm already pushing down. That means my cervix is open. Everything's open now. So the where the uterus is, placenta, cervix, and the rest of my body, everything is open. So I could have gotten an infection. It could have went south.
Yeah.
And it didn't, thank God. But my birthing team, they were not phased at all. I mean, things were normal. They were just like, you're doing great, you're fine. Literally, it wasn't until I was done they were like, yeah, she pooped inside of you. And I was like, oh, great. Wonderful for me. But yeah, I mean, your sac will come out a certain color. Like, if they if they have their meconium, that's like the first poop. So my sac color, like my water when it broke, was like a greenish, kind of dark green, like olive green color because of that. But I mean, oh man, yeah, I mean, yeah. But it was so cool though. I watch the video every now and again and I'm like, wow, that was cool.
Oh man, yeah, that's pretty awesome. My next question has to do with breastfeeding.
Okay, favorite topic.
I guess it kind of follows in with feeding as well. Does breastfeeding really hurt? Because I've seen that hurts for some women, but then I see you just chilling and you don't look like you're in pain. And why does it hurt if it does? And how many times are you supposed to feed? Since, you know, it just seems like babies are always drinking. Like, what is a regimen?
Okay, now this favorite topic This is what I'm trained in. I love this topic. Okay, let's start off with breastfeeding is a job. With any job, you should be trained continuously so that you are always up to date. A lot of people think that because you may have had a couple of people sucking on your little nipples, or that, well, I was born with breasts, so I must know what to do with them. You're wrong. Absolutely wrong. The function of a baby feeding off of your breast is new to the baby too. Just because they're supposed to do that doesn't mean they know how to out of the womb. And so if you decide to not get any lactation consultant, you don't care to figure out any breastfeeding positions, what it should feel like, what it should look like, what is happening, it will be a very painful, exhausting, and annoying process, which will be one of the causes for PPD. Because that's your main source of feeding. It's not, but you have to feed your baby. So that can stress you out a lot. Breastfeeding should not hurt. Just like with anything that happens or is done to our body, it should not hurt. If you're putting in a tampon, it should not hurt. Having sex should not hurt. It should feel good, but it should not hurt. This is something that a lot of women don't like to talk about, but we all talk about it amongst ourselves. Breastfeeding should feel good. We try not to associate it in a sexual way because people try to already make it like that. But it does feel good. So that's how you know it's working. If it hurts or if you're bleeding, it's not working. The reason why it's not working is not because of you, but it could just be how your baby's mouth is positioned. Some babies' tongue cannot extend that far, so their tongue is tied. It could just be a quick chiropractor appointment that can adjust their jaw. They might have to actually have surgery to get it cut. But figuring it out sooner rather than later will save you so much headaches and an infection as well. Because your breast is they like to call it like a subway, because it's not just like one milk duct. It's not just like a straight line. It's going crazy. It's just, there's a lot of things happening. And so one clogged duct may not be just one duct. It could be multiple clogs. And so if your nipples are clogged, that hurts because it creates this ball, and that ball doesn't go away. It can cause an infection. You can get a fever. You can lose your breast. There's a lot of things that, it can get really bad really quickly. If you believe people who say that breastfeeding should hurt. Because I've heard people say that, which is crazy. The very first time you breastfeed, it will sting a little. Now, if you're someone like me and you like a little BDSM, it might be okay, this is cool. This is not the worst thing in the world. But it's new. It's different. I've never had any person of the opposite sex ever do anything of that nature. So it's not even something that you can say oh, wow, you've never had anyone do this to you before. Unless someone has that fetish, but most of the time you have not. And so with that whole thing, because breastfeeding is such a big topic, I don't want to go into it too deeply, but if it hurts, that's a problem. It's not okay if it hurts. Get it checked out if it hurts. That's very, very important. How much your baby should be eating. And let me say this. Sorry, Mama, if you ever decide to watch and listen to my podcast, I don't think she will. But that was one of the things that really contributed to my temporary PPD in the first month of Jenny being born. Even with all of the training and education and classes that I've done on birth, breastfeeding and lactation, I still allowed for my mom's old school mentality to trickle into what I know now. And my mom was literally trying to tell me that my baby at 2 weeks old should be drinking 4 ounces. The same baby that has a quarter-sized stomach should be drinking 4 ounces every single time she's eating. Every time. Not just like in the whole day, like every time. Which is fucking crazy. If no one ever looks at the comparison, a quarter is really, really small. That's not a lot of food. It's maybe half of an ounce. So let me just break it down. From birth to a week, your baby should only really have 1 to 2 ounces. And I'm not even going to say how many times a day. You feed your baby as many times as they say they're hungry. That could be 4 to 5. That could be 6 to 8. That could be 8 to 10. It could be... When your baby says they're hungry, feed them. Your first month, though, of after having a baby, you should not be pumping. You should not be doing anything but just trying to let your baby be on the breast. Now, this definitely does not include people who cannot breastfeed for any sort of medical reason. But if you can and you have the ability to, that first month should definitely be feeding. It's not until after your baby's a month that they should have 4 ounces. Now, people will always say, like, my baby eats a lot. Of course your baby eats a lot. Their baby. Should your baby have 6 ounces in their first month? No. That's overfeeding your baby. And you risk the possibility of increasing SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome, because you want your baby waking up every 2 to 4 hours is not to annoy you. It's so that they don't fall into the forever sleep. And so them waking up to eat, poop, play a little bit, for 5 minutes, however long you can get their attention, that's great. Their body is naturally making them wake up. And so the feeding thing, gosh, I wish I never listened to her. I'm gonna be honest, because it really freaked me out, because and I didn't know that your milk supply, it takes 10 weeks before your true milk supply comes. So I'm over here pumping like crazy, actually increasing my supply for a baby that doesn't eat that much. And when you have that, you end up having backed up milk because it's not coming out. And that can, once again, that leads into the infection and all that stuff. Now you got pus coming out of your titties and shit. Yeah. Or you can actually have pus coming out of your armpits because your milk ducts actually start from up your armpits. So you can actually have milk coming out of your armpits too. Yes. Learned that the very weird way. I was in the shower when I learned that. And yeah. And so you really, in that first 2 months, you really just want to do nothing. Like, let your baby and body do what it needs to do, because those two are working simultaneously together. Your body, the more you are hugging your baby and smelling them and kissing them and loving on them and skin to skin, your body is picking up on that oxytocin, and is making more milk. So your body will know when your baby is hungry. And if you decide to breastfeed like extended to the point where you can like, I got to a point where I can feel the milk filling up in my boobs, and I can feel Jenny, like I can feel them coming out. Like, it's an amazing like feeling and process. But I think the biggest misconception about feeding is that um, feeding your baby a lot in one time, especially in that newborn stage, because your baby just cries a lot. A lot of people think that, oh, well, I just fed them 15 minutes ago. I didn't feed them enough. And it's like, no, they could just be wanting comfort. I mean, it's weird that in this society, we can be pregnant for 10 months and then as soon as the baby comes out, want nothing to do with them or be bothered by their presence. And that's not the same as postpartum depression or baby blues. But there's some people who like naturally just don't want to hold their kids, or I've heard people say like, "Oh, don't carry your kids. You're gonna spoil them." How am I gonna spoil a newborn?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Like, and the idea of spoiling means that your kids know manipulation, which means your kids know time. And the concept of time in your kid's mind doesn't happen until the age of 4. So I have 4 years to spoil my kids before they can actually manipulate and then make it a thing. So you're about 4 years too early for me, bro. Hug your baby. Hold your baby.
Absolutely. Yeah, every time.
Hold them.
Should always be free. Always.
Exactly. And I mean, I know, listen, I've seen it all. People literally have, and like I said, it's not the same thing as PPD, because you can not feel connected to your baby, but still love them, or however you may be feeling during that time. But your baby wants you. They're not just crying to bother you. They're not just crying because there's nothing wrong. Them crying is their form of communication. You may not visibly be able to see what's wrong, but like me and Manny would always have a mental checklist. Like, okay, her diaper's not wet. She's not cold. It's warm. Maybe she's hungry. Maybe she's just uncomfortable in this position. She doesn't like it. Maybe she was in the room where it was nice and dark, and then we brought her to the living room. It was a lot brighter. Probably too quick of a transition for her. Maybe there's too much noise. Maybe the smell. Like, we used to burn a lot of incense and candles. Maybe she didn't like that. You never know. Just because it's normal for you, however your environment is, your baby was just stuck in the warmest womb of their life, and now they're out in the open. You have to kind of replicate that womb for them for the first 4 months.
Yeah, definitely.
After that, then we can talk about other things. But for those first 5 months of life, though, feeding should be as often as the baby wants. Breastfeeding should not hurt. If you decide to pump or do formula, I mean, even those are a completely different realm as well. But just try to let your body do what it needs to do. The less intervention, the better. And no milk. Don't get no teas. Don't get no cookies. Them things is fraud. Those cookies are literally chia seeds and flax seeds and hemp seeds with oatmeal. Make your own cookies. Or just make a parfait. Make a yogurt with some good Greek yogurt, some fresh fruits, and put those same chia seeds, granola, and you have the same thing. Like, they be trying to scam us.
So do you like drinking milk?
I've tasted it a few times. I'm not sitting here just drinking my milk. But I've definitely tasted it. It tastes really good. I've had milk. I've had my cousin's milk and babaku. That was good.
I always wondered why that wasn't a thing. Like why not?
Because people try to make it weird. I don't know why.
Yeah,
it's delicious. It has a natural sweetness to it. I'm trying to see what kind of have you. It's like putting a light honey in some milk. Like, it's just sweet enough, but it's not like if you put sugar in it, like where it's like sweet, you know. It's good, and it's nice and thick. It's not, I like it. I've had Manny try it. I've had my sister try it. If you're having sex, like we've had sex and like about to orgasm, and like my milk would squirt out. It's really fun. Yeah, I could actually squirt it out on command. I've done that.
Oh my God, I was just gonna ask you some questions about boobs like that.
Yep.
Do you like when you're feeding and stuff, right, or just like anytime when you squeeze, it pumps out more? Yeah, like a boob.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually great to do that so you can help let it come down.
And then my other question was, so how do you get it? I mean, obviously it's not leaking all the time. So, like, is there anything that you do? Like, for example, let's say you just got feeding Jenny, but you did it real fast and you want to go out. So, it's still leaking? No.
For the first, let me see, how long was I leaking for? I think for the first 3 months, I was wearing nipple pads because of leaking. But it's, once again, your body's not your breast milk schedule is not in yet. Like, it's not finalized. Once you and your baby have a routine, and that's like after 4 months, you don't leak anymore. Now, if there has been too many moments where Jenny is feeding and she's feeding, and like in the middle of her like sucking it out, she'll move her head, like it'll still keep coming out. But then it'll stop because it needs that consistent pull. Yeah. But if it was like in mid pull, like it's gonna give out whatever left it had. But yeah, after a few months, normally you would stop leaking. I did have a friend who, up until a year, she still leaked. And so there's different ways that you can collect it. You can use a haka, which I love and I used for those first few months when I was leaking. And that's like it's they call it a manual pump, but it's not really a pump. It's almost like a suction cup, and you just place it on your titty and it'll just collect whatever let down. They have one that's more of like hands-free, so you can just kind of like put your titty in a pocket and it'll just collect all the milk. And that's really great, especially for like sleeping, because I mean, I don't know how many nights I've woken up and the whole bed is wet because like I leaked on one side or something. Yeah, those would just be like uncomfortable because you wake up and you're like, it's so wet. And since it's a little sweet, it's like kind of sticky. It was the worst, but.
So would that happen like if you slept on your stomach? Like when you slept on your stomach?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, because you're kind of pressing on it, so it just like slowly seeps. Or if she's feeding, because like we co-sleep, so like if she was feeding on one side and then the other side just didn't get any love, it will start leaking on its own. Like it would just leak little by little, and then throughout the night, it would just leak forever.
I'm happy you mentioned that because this is actually something I've never heard of anywhere in my life.
Really?
Nobody has ever talked. No one has ever talked to me about. I mean, obviously we can see that that boobs leak, but like the night, like night spills, like no one has ever told that.
Yeah. Oh, and
nobody talk about that.
One thing that no one mentioned to me is that your you can actually start leaking while you're pregnant.
Wow.
I actually started leaking colostrum while I was pregnant. It started, I will never forget this. It started at my 17 weeks. And the only reason why I noticed is because I saw like these crystals on my nipples. And I'm like, what, is my nipples that dry that I got fucking crystals? And Lord and behold, I'm literally leaking milk.
Wow.
And for some women, it happens on and off. But for me, the second it started happening, I had that until I gave birth. And it wasn't a lot. Like, it would happen here and there. I could make it happen on command. Um, but it wouldn't be a lot of milk. But you can actually collect that, like with a syringe. And you can put it in something, and that will be, you could freeze that and use that later on if you collect enough of it.
Okay.
So that's another thing. And that doesn't affect your milk supply. Like it leaking earlier, because I used to think that, like, I'm not going to have no milk left. No. Oh, and also another thing is that breast size does not, just because you think you have smaller boobs doesn't mean you might have, it doesn't mean anything. Your baby will determine. Yeah, because I used to think like, oh, my boobs is big, I'm about to have mesh. No, this girl I knew who had smaller boobs than me, she was the one that was always leaking. And I'm like, damn, bro. You know, so breast size does not matter with anything. Your body is determined by your baby. So if your baby's just a eater, and she had a boy, so you know they say boys typically eat more. But so that was, those are some of the things that I wish I knew too.
Yeah, no one's ever, even to this day, and I watched like some of the, you know, even the influencers talk about big stuff like that, but they never talk about that. It's crazy. Sticky bed for milk.
Yep. And it's one of those things, honestly, if no one brought it up, I wouldn't bring it up neither, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's
why we need that.
Exactly.
Yeah. We need that.
Ooh.
And my next question is, so when growing up, I always thought that school kind of started with pre-K around 4 or 5. That is actually where I started school at 4, and then started school in America, here kindergarten, and you know, so on and so forth. But you know, I've been seeing kids like going to school earlier and earlier, and even now I'm seeing kids like they're speaking even at 1, and I'm like so shocked. And I'm like, wow, like it's either a genius or something is not. I don't know, something is not happening. So, what age do you think your child should go to school?
That is a really great question. So I had to actually look up what is the school age for America. And apparently every state defines it differently. In your state of California, they define school age as 6. But I say 5 and 6 because if you have a late birthday, you know, you got some 5-year-olds. But that's first grade. So technically, yes. So technically, in America, your kids do not have to go to preschool or kindergarten. They can just go right into first grade. However, not a lot of people can afford to just not send their kids somewhere. And so what has happened is a lot of daycare centers have merged or been formalized into schools. So before you would have basically just a big babysitting service and a bunch of people's kids will come in and they won't learn anything. You know, they'd be taken care of, they might have the TV on, but it wasn't school, or it wasn't a school-like facility. And so now you're having these daycare centers, because that's technically what they are, provide more and more for kids. And then you have actual schools for like kids as young as 9 months. I think, yeah. Yeah, there's places that you can send your kids as young as, some can be 6 months too.
Like real school, not like the teach a baby how to swim type.
Well, no, not school. I think if we're gonna talk about school, it's definitely 6. That's the age.
Okay.
By law, your child, if you're not homeschooling, should be in school. Well, not should be. Your child has to be in school by 6.
But they can start learning by 9 months.
Yes. And that's the thing with school, because we're homeschooling. And so...
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yes.
Like forever?
Well, as long as
she wants.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. If she tells me, hey, I want to go to school, bye. I'm going to see how it worked for you, girl, but... Okay, but, so teaching, and as a retired teacher, I always said teaching starts before you were even born, really. Like, how the things that I said to myself while I was pregnant, that I said to her while I was pregnant, the things that I would whisper affirmations to her every night. We have things that we say, you know, like the things that we do in our household every day prepares us for school. And so, I mean, Jenny now at 14 months, she understands Creole. She knows how to, if you tell her to come, she can come. If you tell her if she's hungry, she knows where her mouth is, her tongue, her, you know, like, so she's a bilingual child at 14 months. And, you know, there's no, just because she reaches 6 doesn't mean like, okay, well then my job stops. Because a lot of parents tend to think that like, oh, well, now you go to school, that's their business. No, you still have to teach them and everything. And so, but definitely 6 is school age. Kindergarten they're trying to mandate kindergarten so that your kids have to go to kindergarten too, but it's not mandatory. I know people who never went to kindergarten.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Or like they skipped the whole thing. They didn't go to preschool, kindergarten, and they're here in 1st grade.
Wow, that's just crazy. Well, I can't say it's crazy. It's just different.
It is.
Yeah. That's my question. And speaking of school, so this is another kind of a school question. It's one of my favorites because I feel like it kind of stumps people. Because, you know, we all like to imagine that our kid is a perfect child, that they're harmless, that they're innocent, and I'm sure they are most of the time. But just like every person, nobody's perfect, and we all, you know, can mess up. And sometimes in school, that can be being a bully. So I wanted to ask you, because everybody always imagines, oh, what they would do if someone bullied their child. You know, oh, they would come to school and they would rough up that person's parent or, you know, rough up the child or whatever. But nobody ever talks about, like, what would you do if your child was the bully? You raised them right. Perhaps you even grew up in a Christian, you know, religious household. You did everything right. But your child still came out to be a brat, at school at least. What would you do? Or how would you handle it?
Well, if my child's a bully, that means I didn't do everything right. So I have to figure out what did I do? Because anyone acting out is a sign of some form of trauma or something is wrong. Kids, especially adolescents under the age of 14, don't just act out for fun. Like you know, we may not, I always say we may not respect the reason why they act out. We may not care for the reason why they act out. And we may not really understand the reason. But there is a reason. And so if my poor baby, Genevieve, decided that she wanted to be a bully, I have to figure out if I'm her bully. Because there's something in her that's feeling trapped and insecure that she needs to have released, that in her mind, the way that she can do that is if she gives people the same thing that she's receiving. And so there's different kinds of bullies. There's bullies that will physically hurt you. I've been bullied, but it was always with words. And so when I look at those people's, or when I went to their houses and I saw how their parents spoke to them, it started to make sense why they spoke to people like that. When you don't pour love or kindness or affirmations and motivational words into your child, someone else will pour in whatever they feel like your child needs to hear. And even if you've never seen good, you know that something is wrong. Or you know that, it shouldn't feel like this. And so if Jenny was to be a bully, that's a lot of me I have to recognize, and I have to figure out, okay, clearly I'm not doing something wrong. What is that? Where am I lacking? Where am I not showing her that love and affection? Or does she not feel like she has a sense of security? Or maybe she's not getting enough attention. A lot of times kids bully because that's the only time someone is paying attention to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even really that deep. It's just, hey, no one says hi to me. No one asks me how my day is. Or you may ask, but you don't really care. And so I know that if I punch somebody, you're going to care. So I'm going to punch somebody then. And so it would definitely take a lot of me to work on whatever I'm dealing with and what I'm doing, because our kids are an example of how we raise them. Yeah. You can't sit and say, well, I don't know what happened to them. They were fine. What the fuck you mean? If they were fine, they wouldn't be killing people. If they were so fine, they wouldn't be bullying people, or they wouldn't be mean, or they wouldn't be hateful, or they wouldn't be racist. If you did everything so fine, why do we still have a problem? So something wasn't fine. You whatever you thought you did good isn't good. And that's the part about parenting that I've always known as a teacher to do, but it takes a lot of time to come into and see yourself from the outside, like, okay, what is wrong with me? Because being a parent will really show your ass. Like, if whatever you thought you could hide from the world, your kids will make you see it. And that's why a lot of people dislike their kids, or they don't show love to their kids, because, in my example, my father, and I can't be mad at him for that. You never saw love, so how can I expect you to reciprocate love or show love? You thought showing love was giving some money, but that's not love. You thought showing love was, yelling and cursing or whatever, because in your house, that's the people who said they loved you, that's how they expressed love. So you go around the world thinking that that's what love is. And so I'm happy that I had the experience and training to be able, at a young age too, to be able to really try to work on myself. I had about 10 years before I became a parent to work on my childhood traumas and my little moments. I'm still working on it, but I'm definitely a way better person than I was before, for sure. And I think that that's something, if you're thinking about being a mom or a parent, you would want to put that into perspective. What are some things that you're hiding now, or some things that you haven't gone through or healed from? Let's work on those, because they're going to come out. Your kids are going to make you get those out, just like your partner. The people you love the most always know how to push your buttons. And so how can I make sure that I provide a happy, healthy, safe house for my family, so that they're not feeling like they got to walk on eggshells or anything? So, yeah, that's
great answer. I love that. Yeah.
Thanks.
See, okay. So my next question kind of has to do with discipline. It's beating your child versus grounding them, because I couldn't think of another solution, so it's basically beating or grounding. And and I was going to make a reference to how, you know, me and you, we grew up in a Haitian household where communication was not always the primary solution to handling situations. So, in growing up in America, they kind of say that's the case in a way. Not always the case, but they kind of, you know, steer us to use our words more than our belts. So I was going to ask you, what do you think is the best way to discipline a child in this day and age? Whether it be in America, another country, or anywhere, at any age.
Sorry, I was just restarting. I think, gosh, okay. My stance on, so it's discipline versus punishment. My stance on that is there's no need for punishment. Discipline is it all the way. And I'm going to talk about this one thing real quick because I know a lot of people love to use that as an example, that the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil your child. So that apparently means you should be beating your child with rods and all types of stuff. I've read the Bible multiple times. I have looked for that specific passage multiple times. And I think it's really weird that people don't read entire chapters. I didn't realize that people read the Bibles in verses and not in books because it's a book. And so if you're going to read one verse, you might want to read what came before it. And that one verse really, really has like the Caribbean community in a chokehold. And it makes no sense.
Isn't it the Old Testament?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But it makes no sense, though, because it's saying, spare the rod, spoil the child, but the rod was the rod of discipline. Okay. Discipline, and I should have brought up the definition, but it's too late for that. But discipline and punishment are different because of how we go about it. I can discipline you in words. I can express to you and show you what you did wrong, how it was wrong, how it may have hurt people, and so on and so forth. And you will understand that. A punishment, however, is an action. Like I'm doing something to you. And when it comes to the two, there's no comparison. You shouldn't be putting your hands on anybody. I don't care how old they are. And I love to always put this perspective out there for people. Why do you think it's okay to put your hands on someone who is younger than 18 with little to no experiences in the world, figuring out things on their own? Not on their own, but like they're figuring out things. They're so small. They have no wisdom, no experiences, no anything. Yet, if we were to see or watch a man or a woman slap someone, or, I love to always use the man because, of course, but if you were to see a man slap a woman because she didn't put the right cereal box in the cart, that shit look crazy. I know a lot of people who would have a problem with that. I don't think anyone would just willingly be like, oh yes, discipline them. They should have known better. Yeah, if you're walking into a store and a mom pop her kid because, oh, you touched that. It's like, yeah, do what you gotta do, girl. What the fuck? It makes no sense. Why would it be okay for me to hit a child that's literally just learning? They don't know. And then it goes back to when I said that for you to think that your child is manipulating you, your child has to know time. And once again, that concept of time doesn't happen until way older. But, I mean, people are hitting kids 4 and younger. Yeah. For what? For something that they literally... they don't know why they're doing half the stuff they're doing. They don't see how it can harm anyone. They don't even see how it can harm themselves. But they know that they have a desire to want to do it. And that's it. That's the only thing, the difference is I want to do it, do it. That's kids. And so you hit them for that. Now let's break it down even more. Okay, you hit your kid for that. What did they learn? That when you act out, you get hit.
Yeah, and that they should probably walk around eggshells around me.
And even worse, when I become an adult, if somebody does something I don't like, I'm going to slap you in the mouth. If somebody does something that hurt my feelings or you annoyed me, I'm going to hit you. There's too many people out here who hit people off of just raw emotion. And there's not even really, how many senseless killings do we have every day? People just throwing around a few words and then someone gets a gun and that's it. But I bet you if you talk to that same person and ask them how was their childhood, they'll tell you that they were beat for no reason. They couldn't cry. They didn't have a voice. It all goes back to the same kind of habits. Hitting your child silences them. In that silence creates a barrier. It creates a wedge between the parent and the child now. The child no longer trusts you. They may respect you, which if that's all you want, by all means. But if you want your child to actually honor you and to love you unconditionally without fear attached, you're going to have to treat them how you would want them to treat the world.
Yep.
And you have to want them to treat the world with the same kindness and grace that you have to show them. Now, I can understand through the horrific occurrences of a lot of people of color's lives where the idea is if I don't beat you, someone else will, and they won't have the same grace and mercy as I will for you. They will kill you. It can make sense as to why you would think that approach is necessary. And I've seen it time and time again where it's like, well, I'm beating you for your own good, and I'm beating you because I love you, and I'm hitting you because you know, the police won't be sorry for you, and the police don't love you, so they'll just kill you, and they don't see you like I see you. And that's a great cover-up and all, but that's all an enslavement mindset. That's the slave master mindset. To control someone and keep them under you. I don't want Genevieve to fear me. I would love for her to respect me, but I don't want her to respect me out of the fear of getting popped. I want her to feel comfortable enough to voice her opinion in a respectful way. Why? Because I'm going to teach her how to do that. I'm going, and a lot of Haitians and Caribbeans, they never see, I hear when people be like, well, I got hit as a child and there's nothing wrong with me. Girl, you have anxiety.
Right.
You have imposter syndrome.
Or people pleasing.
Or, exactly. People pleasing, which is even worse. A lot of us have people pleasing syndrome. Because it should be a syndrome if it's not. Mm-hmm. A lot of us are literally, we have other little vices and habits because I can't just be calm. I'm always on edge. I always feel like somebody's watching me, or I gotta be on my best behavior because I don't know. Or I don't know how to stand up for myself. I'm more, it's one thing to be shy. It's another thing to be crippled in your shyness. It's created an anxiety. And that's the things that no one ever talks about. Like, or you have anger issues. You explode at the little minor occurrences in your life. You don't know how to apologize to people.
Bad temper, yeah.
You walk away from arguments because it's not going your way. You leave conversations when it no longer pleases you or satisfies you. You don't explain things to people. You expect for people to know what you're thinking. Those are problems. And I always tell people, just because it's normal doesn't mean it's okay. There was a lot of things that used to be normal. Did not make them okay. And so just because you think you turned out normal, though you didn't, because I can see you're not normal.
Anyone who says that is not normal.
Exactly. No, exactly. But that's also, it's not Stockholm syndrome. Is it Stockholm? Yeah, it's like Stockholm syndrome. You know, you end up falling in love and having empathy for your captors.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because you, as children especially, and that's that inner child trying to justify why someone who says they love me may have hurt me. And that's where you start seeing, like, you're really not okay. Because I remember even on TikTok, I seen that video of someone asking this one time, and one of the comments was like, I got hit with a switch because I asked a question one time and I turned out okay. Are you really trying to justify that it was okay for your parents to hit you with a freaking DVD cable cord because you asked a question? Let's just start there. You felt like that was okay? And then, are you trying to say that it's okay to do to other people? And then, are you saying that now, as an adult, you are okay? If you were so okay about it, why do you remember that moment so well? Why is it so trapped in your mind that you, every time you can, you want other people to know it happened to you? It was okay. Why does it matter? Because it wasn't okay. You know it wasn't okay. When it happened, it wasn't okay. Yet, of course, especially in this, like, I feel like in this generation, which is a good and a bad thing, we try to make light of every situation. Like, well, man, you know, we try to compare who got beat with which worst item. What was the dumbest thing you ever got beat for? What was the weirdest position your parents put you in to prepare you for a beating? How crazy are we to be talking about things like this? Like it's like we asking what kind of chicken you want on your pizza. Like, I remember me and my friends literally used to compare beatings. Like, man, I got it worse. Nah, man, I got it worse. Like, nigga, we all got it worse. This is not a game. Like, we're playing a game here. And it's not, you know, and of course, if you don't laugh at it, you might just break. But at what point do we realize that it's just not funny? That's not really a joke.
It's not, because, like, every kid, mostly black, but every kid has, like, especially Caribbean, have like a flashback.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Like,
you can think of the worst times with your parents, it's usually during a beating.
Okay, bro, I got beat for asking my mom if I can sleep over somewhere.
What?
And then she beat my sister so that my sister won't ever ask. That's fucking crazy. And to this day, like, I would ask her, like, why did you do that? And you know what's her response? Well, did you ever ask again? I said, oh, hey, that's Sergine. I said, damn, just like that?
Wow.
And, like, me and my mom, luckily, we have amazing conversations. Like, I can actually talk to her like this and, like, you know, because she knows my background and stuff. But a lot of times, and, like, I'll put myself back in her place back then. I'm not justifying what she did, but I can understand with everything she had to do how it could have been easier to just get frustrated. She was a single parent of 2 kids under 2. We had just come from Haiti. My father decided not to do, like, I mean, it was a lot, basically. I mean, we were running around here looking like Trump's worst enemy, if you can catch my hint. Okay, so we was, and to do all of that in New York, my mom did not have a single ounce of family up there. And like, so I can see exactly. And so I could see how something, in all of the other chaos that you're having to deal with, which is also a problem. Parents, you're not invincible. Your kids can see that you're hurting or that you're broken or that something's wrong. It's not, I'm not going to sit here and tell Jenny every single ounce of, like, oh yeah, me and your papa's fighting and we did this. No, of course not. There's still some level of, okay, that's none of your business. But I'm not going to be like, oh, everything's fine, because now I'm building up a liar.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm gaslighting you, because I'm making you go against your natural sense of empathy to want to fix something. Or you know how many times you doubt, like, well, at least for me, like, I would doubt myself, or like I would be like, man, like, when you get that gut feeling and you're like, nah, I'm just like, I'm bugging, but you usually be right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I know that most of the time, me doubting my gut is because someone told me that, like, you lying to my face constantly, I'm going to start doubting, like, maybe I can't really tell how people be feeling, or maybe I'm, now I bring it into adulthood and I'm doubting everything I do.
Right.
And so I believe there's more effective ways to get your point across than hitting your kids. If the point that you want to get across to your kids is that they're never going to be loved, and that the only time that someone might love them or be expressing love is when they put their hands on them, then by all means continue on with that toxic, traumatic experience that you're providing. But I know, and for 10 years, I've seen it, words matter so much. And you can change someone's whole day and life and perspective off of just the things that you say to them. And so but it starts with, us. If we know that we could speak better to our kids, we have to speak better to them. And if you're still around or have family members that behave in a certain way, especially with the Haitians one that always want to make compliments that aren't really compliments to our body, to our hair, to our skin, to this, you have to be that person that says, no, not with my kid. Yeah, I used to do that with me, but
It stops here.
Exactly. And it's hard to be that first person that says it stops here, because everybody's going to look at you like, well, what makes you so much better to stop this? Right. We all been... But if you're serious about it, you have to go through it. You have to. For the sake of your child, literally, you have to do that. Your child and what they experience is more important than what the dumb words somebody has to say. And one thing, before I even end up with this question, don't let your child or your children have to go to therapy because you won't handle your own trauma. Now they have childhood trauma because of you.
Right. Everybody remembers their trauma, and everybody bases half of their decisions based off of their childhood. Yeah.
You can literally, like, I love watching and hearing and reading about serial killers. At least, literally 99% of them, there's like the very few that grew up in a good family, but 99% of them have the same beginning. Alcoholic mom, prostitute mom, alcoholic dad, abusive dad, something bad. It was never like, we had both families and everybody was happy and everything was great and then suddenly I just killed someone. No, like, it's pretty rare if that happens. But most of it is I was getting slapped around my whole life. I had people never cared about it. Always, come on, if beating kids really worked, right? But if honestly, that's one thing I always wondered. If beating kids really worked, why do we always have more gangs and more violence with kids who were beat? Because the ones we can always say, well, the ones who don't are, but that's we're not talking about them. Because the ones who are not beat, they're beat in another way. They may not be beat physically.
Yeah.
But they are beat emotionally, for sure. Maybe even sexually. Like, you never know. Just because someone doesn't have bruises, you don't know what kind of abuse they're enduring.
Yeah. Words can hurt, right?
Okay? And so, it's just like... It's a very... that's one of my biggest topics. That's probably one of the biggest things I talk about on my platform is how to parent. People call it gentle parenting. I hate that word, but like, just how to parent more consciously and be more aware of who you are so that you can translate that into your parenting methods. It's important.
Very. I totally agree. I love that. And this whole all these questions, this whole conversation has been long. Leads me to my last question, which I think is so important. It is, at what age do you think you should tell your child about racism and how? Because as you know, racism is something that is taught. Unfortunately, kids are not just born racist. So if they're born so pure and everything, what should you have into them and unfortunately tell them, this is what's going on in case this ever happens?
I feel like the age of 3 is a good age to start with the topic, because by the age of 2, your child is starting to realize that they are an individual outside of their parents. So then they're starting to see other people as individuals. Closer to 3, they're starting to realize that these individuals are really their own people. So they start to really focus on different skin tones and ethnic backgrounds and stuff like that. And then by that age, by 3, you're kind of expecting more of a verbal child that's more aware of their surroundings and the people that they're around. So I feel like 3 is a great age to start the topic of race, and however you may want to start that. You can start it by there's people all around the world with different skin colors, and it could be small, and it depends on your kid's mental capacity as well. Like how much of this can your kid take in? Obviously, you go by their developmental level. If they're not really seeing it a lot, I'm not gonna say wait until they experience a moment where they're either having someone be racist towards them or whatever, they were just witnessing it. But usually those are the times that you would probably say something. But I think 3 is a great age to start. Listen, for brown kids, we don't get a choice on when someone decides to not be racist to us.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
So, I think for any other race, it's important to tell your kids that there are people who will, because kids are very smart. They're very aware, and they will start asking questions, and you can't ignore them. And so it's all about just dumbing down the language too. Race is not a complicated conversation for kids. It's really not. Adults make it complicated. We are the ones that overcomplicate. Because I've explained to a kindergartner why, she was like, why is your hair so different? And I've explained it to her, and she was like, oh, okay. Like, if you if you try to put too much into it, it's going to be, you're doing too much. Sometimes it really is, the answer really is just that simple. Why, why are you brown and I'm peach? Oh, because there's something in our skin that makes us darker. How? Like whatever, but you go off of what they're interested in. If they want to keep going and keep going, then you try to make it work. But to not say anything at all and wait until it happens to them, sheesh. Like why would you just leave them in shock like that? You knew it was gonna happen, unfortunately. But like we all experience it one way or another. Oh God, this was.
Those designer babies will be discriminated.
Okay, you mean the non-designer babies are gonna be discriminated against?
Oh yeah,
You're not designer?
Oh my God.
You weren't made in a pod? You came out of a vagina? Oh, whoa.
Naturally. Why did your mom
want to do that?
On your core?
Right, no facts. Have you on you poor? Are you broke? She couldn't afford a pod?
She wanted to do that. I guess she doesn't work then. What is she? I'm confused. Why would you want to do that? It's gonna be crazy, bro.
Man.
It's gonna be freaking nuts. Hopefully.
It doesn't, right? I'm just, God, please. What we need is animals. We need to design animals. No, what am I saying? Jurassic Park, Melissa? Come on, bro. Like, King Kong, let's get it together.
All these dogs. They overbreed the dogs.
Okay,
but horses.
Something. They could be out here making bees. No.
They can do it with cows.
They want to make this.
Yeah, they want to be God so bad.
And you know what's so weird? The people who want to be God so bad are people who don't even accept his most basic concept of love one another. You can't even do that.
Right.
Yet you want to play him so bad. Child, it's disgusting. It is too much. Oh my goodness. Well, Sergine, thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed this a lot.
Oh my gosh, we definitely did. This episode actually will be broken down into 2 episodes, so definitely make sure that you listen to both parts because Sergine has amazing questions. And hopefully I was able to answer all of them. But I would love to have you on the podcast again. I mean, you are amazing. She just heightens my conspiracy theorist mindset. And it's great to have people that just wonder and want to know about the world as well.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it a lot too, and I'd love to be back anytime.
Oh, yes.
I would definitely be listening.
Oh, please, you have to listen to your own episode.
No, yes. Oh, I was into
No, baby. But we'll definitely catch you guys on another episode in another week or 2 from The Modern Mama. Thank you guys again for listening, and I will catch you on another day. Bye.
Bye.